Hello and good morning, friends. We are live with Sip with Stacey, and today we have our guest from Washington State, Michele Hunt, and we couldn't be happier to have her on the program here today. She is going to be the 2023 state president. And I want to give you a little background on Sip with Stacey. The idea behind the leadership for this live stream is to take a deep dive into leadership, but more specifically, the leaders that are living the council's mission, vision, and values. I was inspired to start this program because of leaders that we lift as we climb, don't we? Mentors along my journey have extended their hand to me, and I am passionate about doing it for others. And I couldn't be more thrilled to share this leadership experience with all of you today. So let's give Michele Hunt a huge round of applause and thank you for being on Sip with Stacey.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. So we are getting close to Christmas. Michele and I were just discussing beforehand, do we have all of our Christmas shopping done? We are close, but it's that wrapping that we have to do. So we are going to talk about wrapping our hands around leadership this morning, and a little about Michele's background and what her goals and are for 2023 as a leader. But let's start with her personal leadership journey, because I love to always talk about that. Michele, who tapped you first on the shoulder and asked you to get into leadership?
The very first tap I received getting involved with Women's Council was a previous state president. She wasn't state president at that time, but Robin Adelsman. I was a new agent, and she invited me to Women's Council. And the South King president at that time, she asked me to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And it was interesting because it's such a simple task, but that was very meaningful to me as far as, wow, somebody actually acknowledged me and made me feel a little important. So I think that was kind of cool. On the leadership end, fast forward, I had switched to our Seattle Metro network because of the days of the week didn't work out. So at that point, another previous state president who was current network president at that time, Dorinda Sweeney, she just said, hey, can you be a greeter and say hello to the people that come? And that's how it started.
I love that.
Yeah,
be the greeter, and then say the Pledge of Allegiance.
yeah, and then it snowballed from there. It became greeter to secretary. We were still secretaries at that time, and we had a little shenanigans going on with leadership, where that current president of that current year had stepped down. So the president-elect and Dorinda, they said, would you mind being president-elect now? And I'm like, okay. And then there it went. So.
I love that.
Step it up.
Yeah. And so let's just throw this out here for, lifting as we climb. So people out in our audience, if you are new to a network and you haven't been tapped on the shoulder, raise your hand and go to the leadership and say, you know what, I would like to do something, because sometimes we're not able to reach out and touch everyone. So if you're looking to get involved, we definitely want to help you. And we don't always have that opportunity to tap everyone on the shoulder, but we definitely want you involved because we want to be inclusive. So I do want to say, to Michele, thank you for, accepting that task to ask. And I think that's what it's all about, is helping each other. Let's talk about what your best piece of advice for leadership for anyone wanting to get involved.
Well, wanting to get involved is to show up at network meetings and network and talk to people. And honestly, if you feel a little unworthy or shy about anything, it's okay to just say, hey, I'm here to help. And that's when people like me with the eye for leadership identification, we'll perk up and we'll be like, okay, let's get her doing something, even if it's just greeting, saying hello, passing out name tags, whatever it might be.
I love that. Okay, so now you just said something interesting. You said the I, you're referring to the DISC profile, your letter. Is that correct?
Well, not necessarily, but
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, no, not necessarily. I mean, I'm more of me personally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I look at those things. And I know there's people out there, there's other leaders that just recognize people that you can see a burning desire, but they
Mhm.
don't know how to come, to approach anybody.
Right.
So that's where it's important for us leaders to really engage with the members or potential members and just and notice and say hello and talk to them and
Have your leadership radar on, ladies, and look for those leaders, right?
absolutely, yes.
Well, good, good. Now, Michele, I wanted to ask you about your involvement also in your association.
Yes. So, so I'll just tell you that being network president just kind of snowballed me into deep involvement with the Realtors Association, Washington Realtors, and NAR. So, so basically, as our CEO of Seattle King County Realtors, he would come visit because I always told him come to our meetings. He would come visit, and he had his leadership identification hat on, and recommended me to be a director for Washington Realtors, which then snowballed into me being tapped on the shoulder and asked a couple times to become a federal political coordinator, an FPC, for our 8th congressional district here in Washington state. So I said yes, and due to that, I obviously got involved with government affairs at our local association and got into leadership there. And now I am the 2023 Vice President of Government Affairs for Seattle King County Realtors. So.
Congratulations. That's so awesome. Now, you and I both have a affinity for advocacy in our industry, and I see that you are wearing your RPAC pen just like I am. So let's talk about that. And let's talk about your passion, for the PAC and what you're doing in your state and your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, folks, my camera is not amazing, so you can't really see what it says, but I have grown into our PAC, and I now sit as a Crystal President's Club member. But being involved really helped me understand where our dues go and what our PAC is and where those dollars go, because those are separate from our dues. And it's important. There are so many things that go on legislatively, locally, nationally, statewide, the whole 9 yards that we need to put our ear to the ground and listen out for. So that became the passion. Of course, I was prompted to invest and then invest more, and it got more exciting every time I went to the Hill, either Hill in Washington. And this past year, 2022, as VP elect of Government Affairs, that put me in as chair of our RPAC subcommittee for Seattle King County Realtors. So yes, so that was just got things a little more exciting for me. And because of that, my goal was to get Women's Council Washington more involved. And so at our auction, which we raised the most money ever for one of our fundraising auctions, I got our Women's Council, our South King and our Seattle Metro networks involved. And that was really cool. You know, I had a couple of gals from Seattle Metro. They were my Vanna Whites and just were part of the program. It was great. And that is one thing, because I know with nationally, Women's Council is like the group that really invests. Like we stand out, and I want to make sure Washington stands out. So I'm carrying that torch on. One of our network leaders, our new board member for our Tacoma Pierce network, he actually is our state chair for our PAC for Washington Realtors. So he and I are going to pair up and just get more involvement. It's really exciting just to see the advocacy. I see it. That's part of the reason why I get involved, is just to advocate for women. But then it just snowballed into, you know, I have a heart for just making everything better. You know, there's some bad fights that we have to fight, you know, whether it's our capital gains tax, different things that we have on forms that are effective, just the whole 9 yards. You know, we're talking about zoning now, which makes a big difference in our neighborhoods. And so we just got to keep talking about it. And I just urge you all to invest in RPAC. It's important for our industry and our careers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for all of your advocacy and your hard work. I know I attended a meeting one time where a government affairs representative was speaking, and this really touched my heart and made me even want to get more involved. And what they said is that advocacy is like a ship, and if we don't steer it the way we want it to go, someone else will steer it. So in other words, if we don't get involved, then we're just letting ourselves sail wherever. And so it's so important for everyone out there. Please reach out to any one of us, either Michelle or myself, or your local network or your state, and ask questions and get involved, because it really makes a difference when we are all inclusive and we're involved in it, because then we decide where we're going. And I think that's the key. And we're protecting homeowners' rights, and we're protecting realtors' rights. And so that's the key right there. So thank you, Michelle, for all that you do. And it sounds like Washington is in very good hands with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Now I want to talk about, this is one of my very favorite questions, but were you born a leader?
I honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm tapping myself on the shoulder, but I believe I was, because, you know, just I'm a minority, and B, I'm one of two children, which in our culture, you know, the boys were actually kind of advocated a little more for. And, you know, I made it a point to, you know, to make my own path and to not let anything push me down. And that's a lot of what I do. I do a lot of volunteering, and from a young time on. And yeah, so I think I was born with it, you know, because that's in my heart, you know. Aside from everything realtor oriented, I also am a member of ARIA. I'm on the board there, and advocacy for that is super important for me too. And I really, you know, I want to fight for the people that don't have a voice.
That's right. That's right. And that's what a leader does, is fight for people that don't have a voice. And so thank you for just being a servant leader in so many capacities. I can see that you've got your hand in a lot of different buckets, and we see you, and that's what is making us all look better. So thank you for all of your charity work. We appreciate you. I love that. You are definitely a champion. I can just tell. in your work. So that's wonderful. Let's talk about now your position coming into 2023. You're going to be state president for Washington. Talk about how many networks you have, how many members you have, and maybe your first meeting of the year. Let's talk about that.
So we have 5 networks here in Washington. We have Seattle Metro, South King County, which is south of Seattle. We have Spokane on the east side of the mountains. We have Snohomish, which is a daughter network of Seattle Metro. We had a good break off in there. And we have Tacoma Pierce that takes on the south end. And we do have some interest for some outlying counties, which, you know, it's a journey to try to get that going, but we do have a lot of interest and we do have a lot of members at large. We have over 200 members right now. Obviously, you know, we're in renewal season, so so we need to get them all renewed.
Yes.
So yeah, yep. So.
Okay, so we know that at national in any given year, we recruit about 3,000 members and then we lose 3,000 members. So tell me how Washington is going. What techniques are you going to use to keep those members engaged and renewed in your state?
Right. So, you know how it goes as a state leadership entity, we are there to support our local networks. So what I do personally is I try to show up as much as I can at local network events and meetings. I am, as a state board, we are really working on improving our marketing and our touch skills with our members statewide. Doing things like this, you know, where we are getting the word out that there's important work that actually Women's Council does. You know, there had been in the years past, you know, like, oh, they're a wine club. I don't know if you heard that in your state, but we did it here. And that was another goal of mine, is to change that mantra, right? And I have flipped a few hats of, you know, some realtors that just thought that, and now they're on board and drink the Kool-Aid. So that was great.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, spread the word. And I think the best is just communication and keeping in touch. And just the simple question that you can ask is, how can I help you?
Yes.
And I think that just opens up so many doors. I love to ask that question, and then I'm quiet and I just hear what they have to say, and then we know how to help them, right?
Yes, absolutely, because they all have different needs, and you know, we're here to support.
That's right. That's right. Let's talk about your first meeting as a state. When is that? And do we have any special speakers coming in, or a theme or anything that we can help spread the word for your state?
Sure. So it's coming up quickly. Our first meeting is January 18th.
Okay.
And it's going to be a pack-filled couple days. So we always do our meetings / conferences in conjunction with Washington Realtors. So we have a lot of members who cross-volunteer and involved, and we want to make sure that we have opportunity for that. And so on the 18th, this is the first time ever, so I'm mixing it up. I'm shaking things up for our state. Typically, we would have our meeting the day before Washington Realtor Committee meetings start. But this year, I'm throwing Women's Council right in the mix of it for a couple of reasons. I would love for them, our Women's Council members who have not yet been involved with Washington Realtors, to have the opportunity to experience that end of it instead of being there the day before and leaving. So we're going to intermingle that. That same day in the evening is our state installation, which is super exciting. So we get installed along with the Washington Realtors installation. So we have that shindig in conjunction. And I love that because a lot of what we want to do as an organization is collaborate with our associations. And that is just a meaningful one because it shows and it gets the word out to them and the leadership there that we're here, we're important, we're here to collaborate with you. So that's happening. And then the next day, everyone needs to get some sleep because the next day we're all going to Olympia, to the Hill, to go talk to our state legislators. So, and this is the first organized time we're having Women's Council go and participate. So I'm super excited about that because, as you've heard, advocacy and anything GA is up my alley, and these are all goals that I have. And so the theme of our meeting is leadership. I might pop in a little bit of information legislative wise, but leadership is really the key because we want to kick off the year with our networks feeling supported, making sure they have all the tools needed to get going. You know, they're all at different levels as far as their planning, and we just want to make sure that they have all the tools that they need and the support they need. And if they need any ideas, I'm a big collaborator and a big connector, so I want to make sure our local presidents are all connecting and talking to each other and feeling supported there. Speaker wise, we are trying to coordinate having our Miss Stacy here join us. It's you know, always a lot of coordination, but we're excited to have you pop in, albeit via Zoom. But you know, it'd be great to hear from you and the tools that you can share with us for our leadership. So I'm excited about that.
I would absolutely be honored to do that, and we will make that happen. I did want to just point up when you say go to the Hill. So is that kind of like Realtor Day at the Capitol, where all the realtors will go talk to your constituents? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, that is so awesome. That is actually one of my favorite days because I remember the first time I went, I really wasn't sure what it was. And I knew I needed to go. I had a bunch of people tapping me on the shoulder. And it made me feel so special when I went down there, especially a lot of times when you're sitting up in the loft and they'll actually call out your name. You know, your representative will call out your name and thank you for what you're doing. And I just was like, wow, I feel so proud to be a realtor. So I love that you're all going to Realtor Day at the Capitol. That means so much. And it really goes a long way with what we do in RPAC and the force that we are, because they do listen to us. So that is awesome that you do that. I love that. We're all wearing blue this year in Arizona. So, well, that's fantastic. Now I want to ask you this question, Michele. When can you give me an example of when you have reached out to another realtor and helped them?
In Women's Council or just in general?
Well, you could do in general or Women's Council, either one.
Okay. Gosh, I'm an advocate for everyone. So let me pull a story out. So can I do a group?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we do have a network that has had some leadership, I don't want to say issues, but some snafus. And you know, they're feeling a little lost. And you know, there was a lot of suggestions of, you know, just combine them with another group or, you know, just let them go. And I'm not about, you know, giving up. So anyway, so for me, I was gaining information as much as I could, and even went all the way up to our president, Sylvia, and got some advice, got some help. And we are stepping in and advocating for them. And I made it a point to encourage the leadership there, the ones that were left, to let them know that I'm here, not just as a state president, but I'm here as a person to help them succeed. And so they kept rolling with it. And we've got, they've got someone recruited in who, needed to talk to me about the position. And, we talked, and I'm as authentic as one can get. I have no poker face at all. So I told her all the good and bad, and excited that, she stepped up, and now they are excited. It's just amazing for me to watch their faces change from concerned, can we do this? Oh my gosh, we're just going to dissolve, to, we got this, and they're excited about the journey. So, so as a group, I think that was great. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, because you brought them to the table and you laid it out there and you said, we're here to help no matter what. And you got them engaged, and now you're together, walking the path and figuring it out. So I love that, because that's collaboration at its best right there. And so I love that. So great job. Great job. Now let's talk about referrals. Women's Council, we are, some of the stats that just came out recently by a poll saying that we are one of the #1 referral, or the reasons why women or men members join our council is because of referrals. Could you talk about some referrals that have come your way and what that looks like for your business plan?
Yeah, it's interesting because I get the question a lot of, you have so many hats, you do so much volunteering, how do you have time for work?
Mhm.
And let's be honest, it does take a lot of time away from working on the business. But being involved has, it's been a blessing, because I have received referrals from Women's Council, and it's great. It's great because I know, and I've also referred out. So just having that common trust, and
Mhm.
knowing, like, hey, we are a realtor, that sets us apart, but then we're also a women's council. That's like a double, right? So it's like, okay, this is professionals.
Mhm.
We can count on them. They're going to put their best foot forward, and they're going to take care of our people. And that's something that's, I would want to convey, and that I try to convey with my women's council brothers and sisters, that, I'm that person. And that's what I seek out when I have a referral, to refer out. And it's been great. I haven't been let down. And, I've had many referrals that we've just had a happy ending. So that's amazing. So.
That's fantastic. And for all you members that are out there, and maybe you're new to the council, every time you go to a meeting, collect all those business cards and keep in touch with those people, and they will remember you. And when they have someone in your area, that's who they're going to call upon, is their sphere of influence. And so that's why it's so important to stay in contact with them, whether it's through email, or maybe you have a referral a newsletter that's just for other agents. But collect all those business cards, keep in touch with them, like them on Facebook, and all of a sudden you'll realize that this referral program will just snowball. And it is a beautiful thing, because it really goes and it speaks to our professional credibility. And now it goes to my next question, Michele. What would you say, as far as Women's Council has done for you in the arena of professional credibility?
Women's Council has done a lot, because, we're all about growing leaders, right?
Mhm.
And so when we become leaders, we become a leader in our profession as well. And Women's Council has done, I think the biggest thing it's done for me is me being able to do something like this. And to do public speaking at all, on any level, because I was the person in the back of the room that would not, not offer her hand up type of thing, to speak out. When I first started the business, I was so much of an introvert. I didn't even want my picture on the business card, even though, that's super important. So that was a big step for me. So confidence building it just flourished being a part of
Mhm.
Women's Council. And a lot of that is that tapping on the shoulder and others showing that they believe in you is so important.
Mhm.
So that's something that I definitely try to do for the members out there and our upcoming leaders, is to make sure that they feel worthy and important, and they're supported. So yeah, I'd say that's the number one thing.
That's awesome. Washington State's so lucky to have you, Michelle. You're so thoughtful in so many ways in your intentions to serve others, and it really shows through and through. So I thank you for being a servant leader, not only for Washington State, but for the Women's Council and for all of us. It speaks volumes of who you are, and we are fortunate to have you. This leads into my next question. When we talk about opportunity within the council, you raise your hand, you take a position, and then more opportunity comes knocking, doesn't it? And it opens your eyes to your association and to NAR and to different groups. And so let's talk about opportunity. What are some new opportunities that have come your way that you've been able to take advantage of and help others?
Right. So as mentioned before, I had the opportunity to become an FPC, which is a real honor.
Mhm.
And that's a rare occasion and a rare opening. But just getting involved in the local association is super important. It just brings you a closer of what the needs are in your city, your county, what's going on locally.
Mhm.
Um, Being involved with Washington Realtors was really it's an amazing thing also, and just knowing that the leadership there also sees you. And that's another thing I didn't mention, that I'm also vice chair again of our DEI committee. And I know, and that was, another tap on the shoulder that I had. Oh, there it is.
Did you see my butt? Yeah.
Yeah, yours is clear, mine's not. I need a new laptop. Um, but and I'm probably maybe a little above and beyond in my involvement, but I just encourage anyone out there to get involved, and you don't necessarily have to like step in and like, okay, I'm going to run for VP or a chair position,
Mhm.
but just sign up for a committee
Mhm.
and see what's going on and meet your other realtor family members. That's so important. And that's, as you had mentioned, intentional things I do are intentional. That is why I intentionally schedule our meetings. So there's opportunity when we go to national. I
Mhm.
encourage our members to go join in on a couple of those NAR classes that are available, go to the general sessions, and see what NAR has to offer. And a lot of them they light up, they're so excited, and they get so much out of it. So um, yeah, get involved. If anyone in Washington um, has questions, needs some help, needs someone to, connect them with a group, I'm here. I'm probably the ultimate connector of that.
And what I'm hearing from you is cross-pollinate. Go over to NAR, get in your association. There's so many different things. So cross-pollinate people. And that is so important. I'll never forget when I was in Washington, D.C., Heather Ozier from California, past national president, she was speaking on stage. And after she presented, she closed her laptop and said, okay, now I'm going over to NAR to present. And that was the first time I'm like, oh my gosh, we can actually do both. We are women, we can do this. And so that just that act, she didn't even have to say anything. It was just that act of her doing and right in front of us, in front of our eyes, that really opened my eyes to, yes, we are able to do this. And so, because I know at one time, way back when, I think it was just like, oh, you have to stay over here in this arena. You can't go over here. And really, we can cross-pollinate and we can serve both areas and many areas and be more effective with our power of influence. So thank you for all that you do, Michele. And I want to ask I want you to share with our audience, if someone did want to get involved in Washington State out there, they're watching our program, how will they get in touch with you, Michele?
So very easy. Well, first of all, I'm Michele with one L.
Yes.
And they can email me at michele@michellehunt.realtor. Super easy. And worst case scenario, just find me on wcr.org and I'll be there. But yeah, reach out to me. You can text me. My cell is 206-334-7449. Easy peasy. I'm happy to answer any questions or help anyone out there. And, the cool thing that I've met a lot of other 2023 presidents at 360. And, we've already been reaching out to each other. So other presidents, feel free to reach out and we could talk and chat and problem solve together.
That's awesome. Again, the power of collaboration that you're using. And thank you so much for being a servant leader to the Women's Council and to all of us, and for everything that you do. You are making all of us better. You're making the world a better place. So I thank you so very much. And it's been an honor to have you on Sip with Stacey. And until next time, have a wonderful Christmas holiday, and we will see everyone very soon, okay?
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Talk to you soon, Michele. Bye-bye.